When the first alien ships appeared in Earth's skies, people thought it was a miracle. The news called it first contact. Crowds gathered in cities, waving flags and cheering as glowing objects crossed the horizon. For a brief moment, humanity believed it had finally found friends among the stars, but the truth came fast, and it came like fire. 3 days later, the ships stopped hovering and began to strike. The skies over New York, Tokyo, and Paris turned white as buildings melted under beams of energy. Communication networks collapsed. Satellites blinked out, one by one. No one understood what the aliens wanted. They didn't speak. They didn't negotiate. They simply erased whatever they saw as a threat. Governments tried to respond, launching missiles and fighter jets, but everything failed. The alien shields shimmered like water, untouched by human weapons. Entire armies vanished in seconds. The invaders called themselves the Council Enforcers, claiming they had come to discipline a primitive world that refused to obey galactic law. No one on Earth even knew there was a galactic law. Within a week, half the planet was in chaos. Power grids failed, oceans boiled where the ships descended, and millions fled to the countryside. Yet, in that chaos, something unexpected began to happen. For the first time in centuries, humans stopped fighting each other. Old enemies sent help across borders. Nations shared resources instead of guarding them. People opened their doors to strangers. The human spirit, the one that had always burned, brightest in the darkest times, came alive again. High in the ruins of Geneva, a small group of leaders met in secret. They were not politicians anymore. They were survivors, soldiers, engineers, and scientists. Together, they formed what would later be called the Earth Defense Coalition. Their purpose was not to win, they all knew that was impossible, but to endure. General Marcus Hale, a veteran who had lost his entire unit during the first strike, stood before the others and said quietly, "They think we're broken. Let's prove them wrong." The room went silent. Then, slowly, everyone nodded. The coalition began to gather whatever was left of Earth's technology. They moved underground, built hidden bases inside old mines and mountain tunnels. Engineers rewired satellites that still worked, while scientists tried to study pieces of alien wreckage that had fallen to Earth. Most of it was beyond understanding, but they kept trying. Humans had a strange talent for learning under pressure. They always had Dot in the middle of this struggle. A young scientist named Dr. Lena Moreau made an important discovery. She was working inside a secret laboratory buried beneath the Alps when she found a strange signal, not alien, but human. It came from old military archives, something buried deep in classified files. The label on the document was simple, Project Cerberus. The name made no sense to her at first. When she opened the file, her hands began to shake. The project had been started over 100 years ago, during the Cold Era. It wasn't a weapon in the normal sense. It was a study about human adaptability. The scientists of that time had discovered something strange about human biology. Under extreme stress, humans didn't just survive, they changed. Faster than any species known, Lena realized something important. The aliens saw humans as weak because they had only witnessed their peaceful side. They had no idea what humanity was capable of when pushed to the edge. Meanwhile, outside, the alien fleets circled Earth like vultures. They sent messages in a language no one could understand, demanding surrender. They wanted humanity to kneel, to give up their independence, to become servants of the Council. But the Council didn't understand what kind of species they were dealing with. On the ground, resistance grew. Farmers, miners, engineers, everyone became part of the effort. Old ships were turned into mobile bases. School buses carried supplies to hidden camps. People communicated with shortwave radios, using codes that even advanced alien scanners couldn't decipher. The aliens tried to crush these small groups, but every time they did, new ones appeared. It was like fighting a storm that refused to end, and deep beneath the mountains, Lena and her team kept studying the Cerberus data. She discovered notes from the original scientists. They had theorized that human DNA could unlock something called adaptive resonance, allowing people to grow stronger, faster, and smarter in response to danger. It wasn't fantasy. It was evolution, speeded up by willpower and emotion. But the project was shut down, because it scared even the humans who created it. They feared what would happen if humans ever learned to control it. Now, as the skies burned and cities fell, Lena realized that fear no longer mattered. Humanity had nothing left to lose. One night, she stood on a hill overlooking the destroyed city of Geneva. The sky was dark, filled with the faint red glow of alien ships moving like silent ghosts. Beside her, General Hale asked quietly, "Do you think we can win this?" Lena didn't answer right away. The wind carried the smell of smoke and metal. She finally said, "Maybe not, but I think we can remind them who we are." He looked at her curiously. "And who's that?" Lena smiled faintly. "The ones who don't stop, the ones who become what we need to be." The next morning, the coalition sent a single message across all remaining radio frequencies. It was short, simple, and calm. "This is Earth. We will not surrender. You've made a mistake thinking we're weak." No one knew if the aliens even heard it, but for humanity, that message changed everything. It became a promise, a quiet vow that echoed through every bunker, every broken city, every frightened heart. Even as the alien fleets prepared for their next wave of attacks, humanity began to move differently. They no longer waited to be rescued. They started rescuing each other. The people of Earth, once divided by countless differences, now shared a single heartbeat. And somewhere out there, watching from the shadows of space, the aliens were beginning to realize that this war would not be as easy as they thought. Because when you push humans to the edge, they don't vanish. They evolve. Deep underground, in a hidden base beneath the snowy mountains, Dr. Lena Moreau worked without sleep. The world above had become silent. Cities were gone, oceans boiled, and the sky was filled with strange shadows. But inside that bunker, humanity's future still flickered like a small flame. The discovery of Project Cerberus had changed everything. For weeks, Lena studied every piece of data left behind by the old scientists. Most of it was written in codes and equations far ahead of its time. The deeper she went, the more she realized that this project wasn't about creating weapons. It was about unlocking something already inside humans, something ancient and dangerous. Project Cerberus had started during the Cold Era, when nations feared each other more than any outside enemy. Those scientists had studied human evolution and found something incredible. When humans faced extreme fear, pain, or loss, their bodies and minds changed faster than any other known species. They healed quicker, learned faster, and could survive situations that should have been impossible. It was as if humanity carried a memory of every struggle their ancestors had ever faced, buried deep inside their DNA. But the scientists who discovered it were afraid of their own creation. They ended the project and buried the data, calling it too risky. Now, years later, Lena realized that the thing humanity had once feared was the only thing that could save them. One evening, General Hale visited the lab. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes, dressed in a torn military coat. He stood silently for a moment, watching Lena as she stared at a glowing screen full of genetic diagrams. "Any progress?" he asked. She rubbed her eyes. "More than progress," she said quietly. "I think I've found the reason humans survive when they shouldn't." He frowned. "What do you mean?" Lena turned the screen toward him. It showed human cells changing, reacting to extreme stress. "It's not technology," she said. "It's instinct. We don't just fight danger, we become the answer to it. Every war, every disaster, every time we almost disappeared, we adapted. We evolved faster than anyone thought possible." The general looked at her in disbelief. "You're saying we can use this?" She hesitated. "If we try, we'll be walking into unknown territory. But if we don't, Earth will fall." He nodded slowly. "Then it's time we remember what being human really means." As the days passed, the coalition grew stronger in silence. Small victories began to happen. Resistance groups hacked alien drones and turned them against their masters. Farmers built traps from old machinery. Engineers repaired old satellites to send secret messages around the globe. Humanity was learning fast. But the aliens were learning too. The Galactic Council watched Earth's defiance with growing anger. To them, humans were a young, untamed species, a civilization that should have been easy to control. They couldn't understand how, even after losing half their planet, humans still refused to surrender. One council officer, a tall being of silver skin and 4 eyes, spoke to his commander. "They are illogical. They have lost everything, yet they fight harder." The commander replied coldly, "Then erase them, entirely." And so, new fleets were sent toward Earth, larger, stronger, colder. When the warning came, the coalition knew this time would be different. The aliens were no longer testing them. They were coming to finish the job. Lena and her team had only days left to complete their work. She began testing a formula based on the Cerberus data, something that could activate the body's hidden survival response. It wasn't a weapon. It was more like a key. The risk was enormous. No one knew what it would do. As she prepared the final prototype, she kept thinking about what the council didn't understand. They had measured humanity by their machines, their weapons, their cities, all things that could be destroyed. But what they couldn't measure was the heart, the part of humanity that refused to give up, no matter how dark the night became. Lena wrote in her notebook, "They think we are civilized because we built cities and spoke with peace. They don't know we built those things to hide our fire." The next night, the alien fleets arrived. The sky over the Atlantic turned red as massive ships entered the atmosphere. The ground shook. Communications were lost again. Inside the bunker, alarms began to ring. General Hale rushed in. "They've started the final strike," he shouted. Lena looked at the formula in her hands, a vial filled with faint blue light. She whispered, "Then this is the moment." Before anyone could stop her, she injected a small amount into her arm. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, she fell to her knees, gasping for air. Her heartbeat quickened. Her eyes opened wide, reflecting faint patterns of light. The other scientists panicked, but she raised a trembling hand. "It's working," she whispered. "I can feel it. My senses, everything is sharper." Her voice was calm, but her mind raced faster than ever before. She could feel the vibrations in the walls, the hum of energy far above, even the movement of alien ships in the sky. It wasn't magic, it was pure adaptation. The human brain had unlocked a level of awareness it had never used before. General Hale stared in disbelief. "You've done it?" he said. You've awakened what's inside us. Lena stood slowly. This isn't just me, she said. Every human can do this. It's part of who we are. We just forgot how. Meanwhile, on the surface, small bands of resistance fighters began to report strange things. Soldiers who should have been dead survived impossible wounds. Civilians lifted fallen beams to rescue others. People could sense danger before it came. It was as if Earth itself had changed. That night, Lena and Hale gathered the coalition leaders. The lights flickered as power drained from nearby generators. Everyone was silent, listening to the distant thunder of explosions far above. Lena spoke softly. We were never the strongest or the smartest in this galaxy, but we are the most determined. They see us as animals pretending to be civilized. Maybe they're right, but that's what makes us dangerous. Because when the mask falls, we remember what we truly are, survivors. General Hale nodded. Then it's time we show them. Outside, lightning cracked across the dark sky. The alien fleets descended closer, confident that this would be the end of Earth. But they didn't know that something ancient had awakened below, and as the first wave of alien fire hit the mountains, the humans didn't run this time. They stood their ground, because something had changed inside them, a quiet, unstoppable truth. Humanity was done hiding its strength. The alien fleets filled the sky like a dark ocean. Their ships were larger now, stronger, and glowing with cold blue light. They came with one purpose, to erase Earth once and for all. From orbit, they began to fire. Great beams of energy streaked down from the heavens, cutting through the clouds and turning mountains to glass. But this time, the aliens were not facing the same humans they had attacked before. Hidden deep underground, in hundreds of secret bases, humanity had changed. The Cerberus adaptation, Lena's discovery, had spread across the surviving populations. At first it was only a few volunteers, soldiers, and scientists who accepted the treatment. But soon, word spread through the underground networks. People wanted to fight, not because they thought they could win, but because they refused to disappear quietly. The results were strange and unpredictable. Some people grew faster reflexes, sharper senses, or stronger endurance. Others began to feel danger before it happened, like a whisper in their bones. It wasn't magic, it was evolution, moving faster than nature ever intended. One night, as the alien fleets prepared to strike again, General Hale stood inside the command bunker with Lena. He watched the holographic map filled with red dots, enemy ships descending over the Atlantic. How many do we have? He asked. Lena looked at the glowing blue markers, Earth's last defenses. Fewer than 100 operational units, she said softly. Hale nodded. Then we make each one count. Outside, rain poured over a ruined city. Lightning flashed across cracked towers, and under the dark sky, small groups of humans began to move through the streets. They wore no uniforms, only dark clothing and homemade armor. But in their eyes burned a light, something fierce and calm. When the first alien patrols landed, expecting an easy victory, the humans struck. They moved silently, faster than the aliens could track. They didn't use large weapons or open battles. They used precision. Every movement was planned. Every attack was quiet and sudden. The aliens' advanced scanners couldn't detect them. It was as if they blended with the shadows themselves. Within hours, the first alien command post on Earth went silent. From orbit, the Council grew uneasy. They had seen this before, but never from a species so young. Reports came in from every continent, alien squadrons disappearing, ships losing contact, soldiers refusing to fight after seeing humans move through the smoke like ghosts. At first the aliens thought it was luck. Then they realized it was something else. Fear. Back at the bunker, Lena monitored the communications. They're retreating from the northern sector, she said in disbelief. General Hale smiled for the first time in weeks. Then we keep pushing. Over the next few days, strange things began to happen. A group of farmers in Brazil managed to take down an alien drone using old radio signals and farming equipment. A small group of children in Asia led survivors through collapsed tunnels, sensing danger before it struck. Across Africa, resistance teams began coordinating attacks without radio, as if they could feel where the others were. The Cerberus adaptation had awakened something more than physical change. It had connected people not with machines, but with instinct. Humanity, once scattered and divided, now moved as one heartbeat. Meanwhile, the aliens tried to respond. They increased their patrols, tightened their defenses, and unleashed energy storms that covered entire cities. But the more they attacked, the faster humans adapted. One alien commander, frustrated beyond reason, sent a message to the Council. They are not like other species. We destroy them, and they return stronger. They have no pattern, no logic. It's as if they are learning from death itself. By the end of the second week, nearly 1/3 of the alien fleet had been destroyed or lost, not by advanced weapons, but by human ingenuity, bravery, and pure will to live. And then, something even more unexpected happened. A massive alien battleship, the Volaris, attempted to land near the ruins of New York. Its engines glowed, tearing through the clouds like a second sun. As it descended, human resistance groups gathered in silence, watching from rooftops and tunnels. Lena's voice came through the radio. "Don't attack yet," she said calmly. "Wait for the signal." The ship landed, sending shockwaves through the ground. dozens of alien soldiers emerged. Scanning the area, they thought the city was empty. Then the lights in the buildings flickered on all at once. The humans had reactivated the city's power grid. A surge of electromagnetic energy struck the battleship from below, shorting its shield for just 10 seconds. That was all they needed. Hundreds of humans charged forward, coordinated perfectly without words. They moved through smoke, climbing walls, throwing magnetic charges, and disabling alien weapons. Within minutes, the massive ship was silent. The Battle of New York became the turning point. For the first time, the world saw proof that the invaders could be beaten. Across the globe, hope returned. People began broadcasting one phrase again and again: "We are still here." The council, now in chaos, demanded answers. Some of their members wanted to retreat, others wanted to burn the planet completely. But before they could agree, every communication channel across the galaxy was suddenly hijacked. A single human transmission appeared on every screen, every frequency. Every system. Lena's calm voice echoed across the stars. "To the Galactic Council, you call yourselves protectors of peace, but you bring war. You thought humanity would surrender. You thought we would fear you. You were wrong." Behind her voice, the signal displayed images of alien fleets burning in Earth's atmosphere, soldiers standing side by side, survivors rebuilding. "This is not revenge," she continued. "This is survival. You wanted to see our strength? You're seeing it now." For the first time in recorded galactic history, silence filled the entire network. Not a single species dared to respond. Back on Earth, Lena turned off the transmitter and looked at General Hale. "They needed to hear it," she said quietly. Hale nodded. "Now they know what we've become." Outside, the dawn finally broke through the smoke. The air was still heavy, but the light felt different, like a promise. The war wasn't over, but the fear had changed sides. The aliens had come to Earth expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had awakened the one thing they could never control, the human spirit. And somewhere above the clouds, among the stars, the council began to whisper a question that no one wanted to answer. Had humanity always been pretending to be civilized? Because if this was what humans could do when pushed to the edge, the galaxy had never truly known them at all. The war had reached a strange silence. For the first time since the first strike, there were no new attacks. The alien fleets hung in orbit, motionless, like a storm frozen in the sky. No one on Earth knew if they were planning another strike or preparing to retreat, but everyone felt it. Something big was about to happen. Inside the underground command center, the lights flickered softly. The air was thick with tension and hope. Dr. Lena Moreau stood beside General Hale, both staring at a holographic map of Earth and the surrounding space. Dozens of alien ships still circled above the planet, but now, they were losing formation. "They're scared," Hale said quietly. "They don't know what we'll do next." Lena nodded. "And that's exactly why we must decide who we are now. What kind of message we send will decide what comes next." For weeks, Earth's defenses had done the impossible, not only surviving but pushing the aliens back. Every victory, small or large, had been shared across hidden networks, spreading courage. Humanity had gone from prey to predator, from hunted to feared. Yet Lena knew that raw strength wasn't enough. They had to make the galaxy understand something deeper. That night, as she sat alone in her lab, she replayed the old transmissions of the council. Their voices were cold, mechanical, and filled with superiority. They had called humans a dangerous species, pretending to be civilized. She whispered to herself, maybe they were right. Then she looked up at the ceiling, her eyes hardening. But they never understood why we pretend. The next morning, the coalition gathered for what could be their final meeting. Leaders from all surviving regions appeared through flickering screens, their faces marked with exhaustion and determination. Outside, thunder rolled through the mountains as the alien fleets adjusted their orbit. General Hale spoke first. "We have two choices," he said. "We can finish this by destroying every ship they have left, or we can send them a message so powerful that they'll never return." A soldier from one of the resistance bases said, "They won't listen to words. They never do." Lena stepped forward. "Then we won't send just words. We'll show them." Everyone looked at her. Her voice was calm but full of quiet power. "The galaxy thinks we're weak because we show kindness. They think our peace is a mask. They don't realize that peace is something we choose. And if they keep pushing us, we'll stop pretending to be gentle." There was silence in the room. Then Hale said, "You're talking about a broadcast?" "Yes," she replied. "A message to everyone. Not just the council, but every species watching. They need to see that humanity isn't what they think." It took them 2 days to set it up. Engineers worked without rest to connect surviving satellites, underground transmitters, and communication towers. They rewired old technology and used alien scraps to boost the signal. Every living person who could help did. Meanwhile, above the planet, the alien commanders argued among themselves. Their communications were filled with confusion and fear. Their scouts had gone missing. Their ships were malfunctioning. They didn't know how humans could adapt so quickly. One commander demanded, "Why haven't we finished them? They are only one planet." Another replied, "You don't understand. They're changing faster than we can react. Every time we strike, they become stronger. It's like fighting the wind, invisible, endless." And then, in the middle of their confusion, every alien screen went dark. At that same moment, across Earth, in the ruins of cities, on broken radios, on silent satellites, every signal turned into one image. Lena standing in front of a dark background, wearing a simple uniform marked with Earth's new emblem, a single silver circle surrounded by 5 stars. She began to speak, her voice calm and steady. To the Galactic Council, and to every world that watches us, this is Earth. You came here believing we were weak. You thought our kindness meant we were easy to control. You thought our civilization made us soft. But you were wrong. The screen behind her showed images of burning ships falling through clouds, of humans rescuing one another from ruins, of soldiers standing together under broken flags. You attacked us, and we survived. You burned our cities, and we rebuilt in the ashes. You wanted to see how far you could push us. She paused, her eyes steady. Now you've seen it. This is our last warning. Stop attacking, or we'll stop pretending to be civilized. The words echoed across the galaxy. Every alien world, every ship, every council chamber froze in silence. Behind her voice, footage showed alien fleets being destroyed not by super weapons, but by ordinary humans fighting with courage, unity, and pure will. Children helping the wounded, farmers defending their homes, soldiers standing unshaken against ships 1,000 times stronger. We are not monsters, Lena continued. We are not conquerors, but we are survivors, and we remember how to fight when you try to take that from us. In orbit, the alien fleets began to break apart. Some ships powered down completely, refusing to continue the attack. Others tried to retreat but collided with their own in panic. The commanders shouted orders, but no one listened anymore. Fear spread faster than commands. From the ground, people watched the sky as the first alien ships began to flee. The sight filled every heart with something they hadn't felt in years. Pride. General Hale watched the transmission end. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he turned to Lena and said quietly, "You didn't just save Earth. You made them remember us." She smiled softly. "No, General, I just reminded them we're not as gentle as we look." That night, the stars returned to the sky. The air was still thick with smoke, but for the first time, it wasn't from burning cities. It was from the falling remains of alien ships, glowing faintly as they burned up in the atmosphere. People came out from hiding, gathering under the open sky. They didn't cheer loudly or celebrate wildly. They simply looked upward, silent, proud, and unbroken. In the following days, more transmissions from across the galaxy began to appear. Some species reached out in peace, apologizing. Others stayed silent, terrified. The council itself sent one final message, a promise to leave Earth alone. Lena watched it on the screen and said softly, "Let's hope they mean it." General Hale stood beside her. "If they don't," he said, "we'll remind them again." Outside, dawn broke across the horizon, painting the sky in gold and red. It was quiet again, but this time, it was the quiet of peace, not fear. For the first time, Earth stood not as a small planet begging for mercy, but as a voice the galaxy had learned to respect. And across the stars, in the deepest corners of the council's chambers, one sentence was whispered again and again with awe and fear. "Do not provoke the humans. They remember." The war was over, but Earth was not the same. The alien fleets were gone, drifting away like ghosts retreating from a nightmare. For the first time in memory, the skies were clear. No dark ships, no flashes of light, just quiet stars shining above a wounded world. Cities still lay in ruins. Forests were burned, oceans scarred, and mountains shattered. Yet, among all that destruction, life began to return. People came out from bunkers, walking carefully across the broken ground. The air smelled of smoke and rain. The silence felt strange, heavy, but full of hope. General Hale stood on what was once a battlefield. The earth beneath his boots was blackened, but small green shoots were pushing through the ashes. He smiled faintly. "We've been through worse," he murmured. Beside him, Dr. Lena Morrow looked at the horizon. She had dark circles under her eyes, but a calm look on her face. The war had taken everything from her, her lab, her friends, her home, yet she felt no sadness, only peace. "It's over," she said softly. "Is it?" Hale asked, glancing at her. "The council's gone quiet, but that doesn't mean they've accepted this." Lena didn't answer at first. She reached down and picked up a handful of soil, letting it fall between her fingers. "They'll remember," she finally said. "The galaxy doesn't forget fear easily." Over the next few weeks, Earth began to rebuild. People worked together as if borders no longer existed. Engineers repaired power stations using alien parts. Farmers planted crops in soil mixed with ash. Old enemies shared food, stories, and hope. For once, humanity wasn't divided by flags or nations. They were one people, survivors of the same fire. Across the ruins of old cities, new communities began to rise. Children played among the remains of crashed ships, turning broken metal into toys. Artists painted the night sky with scenes of humans standing strong beneath alien fire. But there were also quiet moments when people would stop, look at the stars, and remember what they had become during the war. They didn't speak about the Cerberus adaptation openly anymore. It had saved them, Yes, but it had also changed them. In the rebuilt coalition headquarters, scientists debated whether to destroy the Cerberus files or keep them hidden. Some feared what would happen if that power fell into the wrong hands. Others argued that it was part of what made humans who they were. One night, while everyone slept, Lena walked into the lab for the last time. She placed the Cerberus data chip on the table, staring at the glowing blue light inside it. Around her, the machines hummed softly. "This gave us the strength to survive," she whispered, "but it's not meant to define us." She pressed a small button, and the chip began to dissolve in a bright shimmer. Within seconds, the data was gone, erased forever. On her desk, she left behind a handwritten note. It said only one sentence: "We're not monsters, but we remember how to become them if needed." The next morning, when Hale found the note, Lena was gone. No one knew where she went. Some said she left to start a new life far from the cities. Others believed she went beyond Earth, seeking to learn what lay among the stars. But her message remained a quiet promise and a warning. Months passed. Earth healed slowly. The skies turned blue again. Forests began to grow where craters once stood. The oceans cooled and cleared. For the first time, the planet itself seemed to breathe again. Then, one day, a faint signal was detected. It came from deep space, not hostile, not threatening, just a short message in an unknown code. When decoded, it read, "We will not forget what Earth has shown us." It was from a small alien world, one of the Council's outer colonies. They weren't sending a warning, they were sending respect. General Hale smiled when he saw the message. "Looks like we've made an impression," he said. And indeed, across the galaxy, the story of Earth spread like a legend. They called it the day the civilized world saw the truth. To most species, humans were now a mystery, a civilization that smiled and built cities, yet carried storms within their hearts. Some species feared Earth and avoided it entirely. Others began to admire humans, seeing in them something they had lost: courage, unity, and the will to stand even when all seemed lost. Within a year, the Galactic Council declared Earth a neutral and protected world. No ship could enter its atmosphere without permission, not because Earth was weak, but because no one wanted to risk waking what had once been unleashed. The people of Earth rebuilt their world slowly, not as conquerors, but as caretakers. They built memorials in every city for those who had fallen, humans and aliens alike. They didn't celebrate victory, they honored survival. General Hale retired quietly, living near the ocean. He often walked along the shore, watching the waves. When asked what he thought of the future, he always gave the same answer: "As long as we remember what we are capable of, no one can ever control us again." Sometimes, at night, children would ask their parents about the war, about the time when the sky burned. The parents would tell them stories, but always ended with the same words: "It wasn't our power that saved us. It was our choice to stay human." Years passed, the stars above seemed peaceful again. But those who had lived through the war knew the truth that peace was not given to humanity. It was earned in the deep night, when the wind whispered across the empty fields. Some said you could almost hear her voice. Dr. Lena Morose carried softly through the air. "We never wanted to be feared. We just wanted to be left alone." And far beyond, in the quiet corners of the galaxy, that voice had become a memory, a story that the stars told each other. The story of the planet that refused to kneel, the story of the humans who reminded the universe that kindness and strength could live in the same heart. And whenever a new civilization looked up at the blue world called Earth, they remembered its last warning, the one no one dared to test again.